You know how many people have signed up for this?
I think
Looks 74.
sign up is, I think it's about 300. 400.
You know how many people have signed up for this?
About 400. 400.
Looks 74.
We are at the, we are ini waiting room ya. Oh.
Okay, all right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here today in webinar Disrupting the Fueling Network, Electric Vehicles and Smart Transportation, held by ITS Indonesia. My name is Najla Hilabi and I will lead the webinar as moderator. Before we jump into the next agenda, let me explain briefly about ITS Indonesia. ITS Indonesia, or Intelligent Transport System Indonesia, is a non-profit organization established to build an integrated transportation system in Indonesia. ITS Indonesia is here to provide an alternative solution to congestion problems, provide comfort, and be environmentally friendly. ITS Indonesia will be a platform for the development of smart mobility and the development of the digital transportation ecosystem, which supports economic growth and recovery, equitable mobility, and environmental sustainability. Along with Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Hong Kong, Japan, South Korea, China, Taiwan, New Zealand, and Australia, Indonesia has joined ITS Asia Pacific in regional area. So in doing this job, ITS Indonesia will provide suggestions and feedback to the government in making policies, regulations, and standards development of ITS Indonesia. It will also synergize the potential of industry, government, and academia in ITS Indonesia's development. Furthermore, ITS Indonesia aims to educate people by providing information, issues, articles, and facilitating training about ITS. ITS Indonesia has committed to enhancing the transportation system, putting public transportation users in the center of it. ITS Indonesia will provide the solution by developing a transportation system for urban commuters that will support them with domestic transportation to do their daily activities and intensify transportation planning in the tourism sector to facilitate business and leisure travelers. And ladies and gentlemen, the webinar by ITS Indonesia will be held once a month with various topics. And for the audience who want to keep up to date with information related to ITS Indonesia, please follow our Instagram account at itsindonesia.id. In today's case, again, the webinar will discuss about disrupting the fueling network, electric vehicles, and smart transportation. This webinar will further discuss the implementation of electric vehicles in Indonesia as a form of support for the government's action regarding the acceleration of the battery-based electric motor vehicle program for road transportation. This webinar will be presenting the implementation of electric vehicles in Indonesia in terms of regulations and incentives that the government will give to users of electric-based vehicles. We are delighted to have Mr. Budi Karya Sumadi, Minister of Transportation Republic of Indonesia, as our keynote speaker. And furthermore, Mr. William Sabandar, the President of ITS Indonesia, that will give an opening remark for today's webinar. Also, before the presentation begins, allow me to introduce the speakers on today's topics. First, we have Mr. Zainal Arifin, Executive Vice President of Engineering and Technology PT PLN Persero. Hello, Mr. Zainal.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. And we have Mrs. Nanang Gunadi as Country Managing Director, Grab Indonesia. Good morning, Mbak Neneng.
Good morning, Mbak Najla.
And we have Mr. Kuku Kumara as General Secretary of Gaikindo. Good morning, Mr. Kuku. And last but not least, we have Mrs. Mara Bullock as ITS Canada Board of Director. Hello, I cannot say good morning in Canada, Ms. Mara.
Well, good morning to you.
So moving right along, I will now directly invite Mr. William Sabandar to give the opening remark for this webinar. Mr. William, the time is yours.
Thank you very much, Najla. Good morning, everybody, and specifically to Mara, good evening or very late at night there in Canada. First of all, I would like to greet all of you, participants of the webinar today, for joining us in this, our regular webinar. This is actually the second webinar for this year, yeah. And specifically for today's webinar, we are choosing a topic on electric vehicles and smart transportations. Before I start, I would like to greet some of our distinguished guests this morning. First of all, our keynote speakers, His Excellency Bapak Budi Karya Sumadi. Thank you very much, Bapak, for allowing your time and availability for addressing our webinar as a keynote speaker. And all the distinguished speakers this morning, Ibu Neneng Gunadi, the Country Managing Director of Grab Indonesia, Pak Zainal Arifin, Executive Vice President Engineering and Technology of PT PLN Persero, Mrs. Mara Bullock, the Board of Director of the ITS Canada. It's our partners, yeah, with the ITS Indonesia, and Bapak Kuku Kumara, General Secretary of Gaikindo. And all participants, members of ITS Indonesia, member of ITS of Asia Pacific or the world, and ladies and gentlemen. As mentioned by Najla before, ITS Indonesia wanted to be a platform for the development of smart mobility and the development of a digital transportation ecosystem, which support economic growth and recovery, equitable mobility, and environmental sustainability. So two keywords here is actually we want to be the platform. And the aspects that ITS would like to promote in this context of platform is actually promoting smart mobility and a digital transportation ecosystem, which was, I think those issues are very much well developed in the last 10 years. Countries that not adopt digital transportation ecosystem or smart mobility will not be part, I think, of the modern development of the era today. So we want to be relevant. We want to be part of the effort that is actually promoted by the government of Indonesia under the leadership of our president. So in promoting a better transport infrastructure and transport system of the country. And specifically with the ITS Indonesia is actually to provide a system of platform which to promote smart mobility and digital transportation ecosystem. Today's webinar is actually perspective in that context. So there are two key issues that we are going to address in this webinar today. One is on the electric vehicles, and the second one is on the smart transportations. We bring these items together because we think those are the items that should be related all the times. Yeah, we should promote the innovation of electric vehicles in the context of promoting smart transportation, because we want to address the issues with transport development in Indonesia. Many issues that we face today in terms of traffic congestion, in terms of environmental pollutions, in terms of economic growth, in terms of disparities, will need to be created with innovation, and one of which, of course, by providing technology in the way we promote our vehicles that is less emissions and that is electric vehicles, and also creating technologies that can accommodate the operation of electric vehicles in terms of, for sure, in terms of the transport ecosystems or smart transportation. Now, in terms of the ITS Indonesia, also there are, to be relevant, and that webinar is actually in that context, yeah. ITS Indonesia is providing policy advisory and standardization to its member, and then the member of ITS can be individuals, but can also be associates or corporates or organizations, yeah. And the government also to be our counterpart. That's why we continuously to be the partner of the government in terms of providing policy advisory and standardizations. We also would like to involve, and we are currently involved in some of the research and development and training. And by saying so, we work together with development agencies, with research institutions, academia, and universities in collaboratively working in terms of promoting research, development, and training in transport, digital transportation, and smart mobility. And the next aspect is actually by supporting industry and marketplace. So we want that Indonesia apply as many as possible technologies that is smart intelligence in terms of promoting development in transport area. So we promote collaboration with industries through business development. And at the moment, there are several projects that ITS Indonesia is embarking, of course, with the involvement of members of the ITS and other partners. What is our umbrella, or what is our basis of designing this? We have the ITS Grand Design 2020 and 2030, and it is actually adopted by the Minister of Transport under the leadership of the Minister of Transport. And there are issues that is relevant with our issues today. I just mentioned some of them. For example, autonomous driving systems, yeah, advanced public transportation systems, advanced traveler information systems, advanced vehicle control safety and systems, yeah, advanced even electronic payment systems, advanced travel demand management systems. So there are a bunch of issues or programs that we are currently embarking on promoting it as part of the implementation of Grand Design of ITS 2020 to 2030. One of the things that we have to be sure that ITS Indonesia cannot do this alone. So we'll very much rely on partners, on actors, on stakeholders. So we bring together the synergy between academia, industry, yeah, government, and society in promoting efforts on this in this fora. In this regards, I would like to acknowledge some of the role of the members of the ITS Indonesia member in terms of promoting the smart transportations and electric vehicles in this country. For example, we have our taxis industries, yeah, the Bluebird, yeah, who was the member of associate member of the ITS Indonesia, now embarking on some initiatives on promoting electric taxi. Also, for examples, in the industry of online transportations, yeah, we have our partners, our members, yeah, who actually now promote electric motorbike, yeah, like the case of Grab Indonesia, which is Bu Neneng will later explain to us in more details in her presentations later. In Jakarta ecosystems, there is a great collaboration now between state-owned or Jakarta-owned enterprise in terms of promoting electric vehicle mobility. One is, for example, with Transjakarta, yeah, the bus providers, by this year's promoting the use or the implementation of electric bus. And LRT and MRT, for example, for sure, we are using our electric train, and there is a great development of this transportation system in Jakarta. And we hope that this kind of integrations between electric bus, electric taxis and online transportations, and train can also be applied in other cities in Indonesia. For example, there are 5 cities mentioned by Pak Budi Karya Sumadi last week on trying to promote mobility, smart mobility, like the cities of Bandung, Surabaya, Bali, Medan, and Makassar. Those are the cities that actually ITS Indonesia also would like to reach out and to work with together with actors in this region. So, in conclusion, friends, this is something that is going to be very benefit for us. The role of ITS Indonesia will be very much a platform. We can bring benefits by connecting you with actors. For example, today we have our friends from Canada, Ms. Mara Bullock, who will share the experience of, for sure, advancement of ITS in Canada. And that is actually one of the partners that we can actually learn or actually sharing knowledge together on that. We have a friend, for example, from PLN, Pak Zainal Arifin, who are actually in PLN now in the forefront on developing the battery industry, the electric vehicle industry. So these are the benefit that we can also offer, and for sure, from that lessons sharing from the event today, I hope that we can move forward later on creating some practical collaboration in terms of moving forward in promoting the industries in electric vehicle and smart transportation. I think I stop here. Thank you very much for all your presence, and hope for a meaningful webinar today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Williams. So if I may conclude that ITS Indonesia is not just supporting the movement of electric vehicles itself, but also support policy advisory and standardization, such as giving suggestions and feedback to the government, and also conducting research, development, and training, and collaborating with the industries itself. It is very good, Pak Williams. And for the next agenda is a speech from His Excellency Mr. Budi Karya Sumadi. But His Excellency could not join us today in person due to the work reason. So the speech will be delivered by a video. So I will present the video itself.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning to all the distinguished people, President of ITS Indonesia, President Director of LN, to the representative Director of Grab Indonesia, to the representative, to the guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, and may peace be upon us all. First of all, let us praise to Allah SWT, the mighty God, for all His favor and His blessing to us until today we can attend this webinar. In this joyfulness moment, I would like to express my greatest appreciation to the Intelligent Transport System (ITS) of Indonesia on its support of government program with regard to battery electric vehicle. May this even will help us to acknowledge more and also understand in the course of improving an active role of the transport user and all agents of national automotive industry to initiate developing the electric vehicle in all kind of effort the government has done to pursue the society in raising the use of fossil fuel and also improving air quality in Indonesia, along with circulating the presidential regulator, the number 55 of 2019 on acceleration of battery electric vehicle program of road transportation. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as we know that the government has issued the presidential regulation number 55 of 2019 of on the acceleration of battery electric vehicle program of road transportation. Therefore, in this opportunity, I would like to convey that number of electric vehicle which already registered or provide with certificate of approved registered up until March 2021 is 3,641 unit with the detail follow. For example, we know number one for field vehicle 521 units. Second, three field vehicle 24 unit, and third, two field vehicle 3,089 units. Buses 7 units. In the course of meeting, all the technical requirement and electric vehicle road worthiness, we also issued some of regulation on the battery electric vehicle approved test in the relation to the participation of the infrastructure in the field of vehicle test approval. Minister of Transportation would like to involve to private sector to be investor to build the test approval facility of proving ground which comply with global standard. UN regulation in the scheme of cooperation between the government and business enterprise KPBU with a present of proving ground facility in the proving ground development of motor vehicle roadworthy and certification testing center. It is expected that it would encourage the developing of the domestic automotive industry, especially in electric vehicle, and improving the production competitiveness along with the base market improving the production competitiveness along with the base market, not just in the Southeast Asia, but also in international. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, right now, the Minister of Transportation is on the process of the drafting the roadmap of the use of the electric vehicle as an official use of government motor vehicle, pick-up bus, and city transportation, either is in the capital area or any district area. Other than that, we also have prepared the draft of e-mobility implementation roadmap on the program of mass transportation in Indonesia, along with the World Bank that will begin in Bandung, Surabaya, Medan, and as a pilot project. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, finally, I would like to express my sincerely thanks to all participants, especially ITS Indonesia, for hosting this special event. Let us hope that today will give us benefit for this country. May Allah Ta'ala always giving us His relative and His blessing. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are delighted to say thank you for Mr. Budi Karya Sumadi for the excellent speech. We know that government support through Ministry of Transportation already issued some regulations related to battery electric vehicle. And also, Mr. Budi Karya Sumadi has mentioned that he asked the private sector to build electric vehicles ecosystem domestically, which comply to the global standard. That is why today we will discuss about the ITS Indonesia plan and implementation itself. And ladies and gentlemen, there will be 4 speakers for today's webinar. I already mentioned they are Mr. Zainal Arifin, Mrs. Nanang Gunadi, Mr. Kuku Kumara, and also Mrs. Mara Bullock. So if you have any questions to the speakers, you may drop your questions in the Q&A box, and you can find the box besides the raise hand symbol. And do not forget to mention your name, institution, or organizations. And please mention to whom the question is aimed. The speakers will then answer the question in the discussion sections in our last agenda for this webinar. So we'll moving on to the first presentation that will be brought by Mrs. Nanang Gunadi, as known as Mbak Neneng, as Country Managing Director Grab Indonesia. Mbak Neneng will be explaining about the developing ideal electric vehicle ecosystem in Bali. So Mbak Neneng, the time is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Today, I would like to share with you Grab's future vision and mission in developing ideal EV ecosystem in Bali. Before I go into detail on EV, let me just talking about Grab vision first and Grab Indonesia. Grab exists to bridge millions of dreams to become reality. And Grab uses technology to empower its communities and elevate the equality of life for everyone. Now, before I start even more explaining about Grab, I would like to invite you to see the video that shows how Grab envision our super app ecosystem. Let's play the video.
In just 6 short years, we've evolved from a service that lets you book rides into one that connects multiple areas of your life. So you can commute, eat, make deliveries, and pay seamlessly through one app. This is the future of Grab. Soon, you'll be able to wake up, get ready, and leave your wallet at home. With just your Grab app, you'll have the option to choose rides based on comfort, speed, or budget preferences. The app will automatically mix and match transport options like this. If you're taking an on-demand shuttle bus, public transit, and a car, you'll be able to use your app to book and pay seamlessly for the entire journey. Throughout your day, you'll receive personalized, location-specific rewards like this one. Redeem your breakfast and send the order to the merchant instantly. Then pick it up on your way. Skip the queues and waiting time. Your driver has just arrived. In just 6 short years, we've evolved from a service.
So that's our vision on the super app. It's aligned with the vision of ITS as well as what we heard from Minister Budi Karya Sumadi. Now, let me also now introduce about Grab in Indonesia. We started in Indonesia with ride hailing in 2014, from 1 city in 2014, becoming 12 cities in 2017, and now in 236 cities from Sabang to Merauke. In addition, we also have Grab kiosks, previously named Kudo, which cover more than 500 cities and districts around Indonesia. Now, next. In the past 8 years, actually, Grab has grown into a super app. We offer starting with mobility services and then expand to food and grocery delivery, package delivery, and then financial services and digital kiosks. And we keep adding on services into that. And all this, next. All this achievement wouldn't be possible without the support and trust from our millions of our driver partners, our merchant partners, our kiosk agent partners, as well as our business partners and our customers. So to realize our super app vision, next. We keep innovating by building a platform of platforms with the very best technology partners around the world. Our principle is open ecosystem. Hence, we work also with the partners and we want the partners to be successful. It's our mission to bring the most relevant everyday services to the region. For example, we've opened up our ecosystem. I guess to previous slide first. We've opened up our ecosystem to platform like Booking.com, the world's largest hotel reservation provider. And the third quarter of 2019, we've launched a new tile, starting first in Indonesia. We call it Clean and Fix. By the end of 2019, we launched Grab Health. We worked together with Pingan Good Doctor. And then last year during the pandemic, we launched 3 new services, which is Grab Assistant, Grab Mart, Grab Insure. So now let's move to the next slide. Now, what are Grab initiative on electric vehicle? Okay, we are starting by understanding the ecosystem of electric vehicle. Grab plays a very important role in the operational aspect as a platform to the ecosystem. Grab lies here as the center of the operator of implementer of EV transportation ecosystem, surrounded by the development of the ecosystem itself, synergy and collaboration between all stakeholders in the ecosystem, from the power source, smart grid, infrastructure, and commercial battery charging station, with PLN, with Pertamina, with Medco Energy. That's just some example. And all of those also need to be supported by financing solutions from financial institutions such as, just example again, Adira and CIMB, with battery producers and manufacturers such as Gesit, Oika, Hyundai, VR, and many more. This is also aligned with the Minister of State-Owned Enterprise, Bapak Erick Thohir, with the concrete action in launching of Indonesia Battery Corporation last week. And recently, Health Minister Budi Gunadi Sadikin and also Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy, Minister Sandiaga Uno, they have named several areas in the island of Gods, which is Bali. They're in Ubud, Gianyar Regency, as well as Sanur, as a COVID-19 free area, or they call it green zones. The government will also implement this free COVID corridor program in this area to revive the pandemic crippled tourism. Grab EV will be essential to be brought up to those green zones to support Bali tourism revival. Now, Grab is the first company in Indonesia that operates more than 5,000 electric vehicles, and we see a significant contribution to reduce carbon emission, and we are aiming to operate 26,000 electric vehicles by 2025. Next. Since the past 2 years, actually Grab has collaborated with government and EV manufacturers to build an EV ecosystem in Indonesia, and we continue to do so. In December 2019, Grab launched the electric vehicle ecosystem roadmap with the Indonesian government to support EV policies and help achieve the government target of 20% of Indonesia transportation are EV by 2025. As part of this, actually Grab announced a collaboration with Hyundai Motor Indonesia, Astra Honda Motor, VR, and Gesit to launch trials of EVs in Indonesia. Then in January 2020, Grab continued this commitment by launching the first GrabCar electric powered by Hyundai in Jakarta. Now, in November last year, during the pandemic, Grab, Kimco, and Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources launched the operation of the Public Electric Vehicle Battery Exchange Station, call it SPBKLU, in several areas in Jakarta. And also in November 2020, Grab launched more electric-based vehicle in Bali. And now, again, we operate more than 5,000 electric-based vehicle in Indonesia. Now, we have served more than 2 million deliveries and transport orders using two-wheels electric vehicles, e-scooter, and as well as Salis Mandalika. Since then, we built all of this with our local homegrown brands, such as Salis, Gesit, and VR, as well as with our international partners, such as Hyundai, Honda, and Kimco, while we keep improving in terms of safety standards. As an end result, we have reduced more than 300,000 tons of CO2 through pollution-free emission. Now, this we have a recent internal study that resulted is pretty promising for us. In 81% of our drivers like electric vehicle to serve orders, and 71% of the drivers prefer electric vehicle to fuel-based vehicles. A strong factor for the propensity of drivers to electric vehicle is how EVs are more efficient, environmentally friendly, as well as all of you know, EV are very, very, very quiet. Now, we have envisioned the future where the transportation system is interconnected, powered by electric vehicles to cover the first mile, middle mile, as well as last mile for our customer. This can only happen with strong collaboration amongst ITS, government, as well as private companies. This is the vision that we want to build to support the ITTS, which is Intelligent Transport and Tourism System in Bali. As seen in our first video, we would like to bring to life our vision for a better EV ecosystem in Bali. Now, zooming into Bali as our focus city for EV, we plan to build our EV ecosystem starting by enabling our driver partners within Grab ecosystem. We collaborate with our partners, as mentioned with Honda and Gesit, to provide environmental friendly delivery services and free emission transport rides. We provide flexible rental scheme for driver to work using Salis Mandalika e-moped for short distance delivery of food and goods. And we enable this across multiple Grab services such as bike, wheels, e-moped for GrabMart, GrabFood, and Grab Express. Now, for us, there are many concerns, and we put it into 3 buckets of concerns that needs to be supported, needs to be collaborated and work together amongst our stakeholder in the ecosystem. So the concern number 1 is the concern about the purchase cost, on whether it's on the local production, on the supply chain, whether we get incentive for the import tax and vehicle tax, and we need to decouple the vehicle cost and the battery cost. There are operational concerns, and this is very, very important, which is on the after sale and also the secondhand markets. We don't have any precedents because this is very new. And whether we can create a special parking fee, because it's very important for our delivery partners, and whether we have technician support on that. And the last but not least is the energy infrastructure concern. And I know we have a representative of PLN here, right? How is the charging station and battery swap network? What's the incentive for development and the standardization of the battery? Those are the concerns that needs to be discussed among all of us. Now, next, let's collaborate to create a more open and inclusive ecosystem for the future of e-mobility and green economy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mbak Neneng. Yes, let's open the collaboration. That's why we ask for all the attendees. If you have any questions to the speakers, especially Mbak Neneng, you may drop the questions and we will answer later on the discussion section. And for the next presentation, will be brought by Mr. Zainal Arifin as Executive Vice President of Engineering and Technology of PT PLN Persero. Mr. Zainal will be explaining about electric vehicle ecosystem in charging station. So, Mr. Zainal Arifin, the time is yours.
Okay, thanks, Najla. First of all, I would like to thank to ITS Indonesia who inviting us to this wonderful event. First time I confused about the ITS name. Yeah, I think that's my undergraduate university, ITS Surabaya, Pak Willy. Okay, I would like to share the presentation about how we develop EV infrastructure and EV ecosystem in Indonesia. I would like to start with the regulation perspective. As we already know well that the Indonesia Presidential Decree number 55 signed 2 years ago, on August 2019, is focusing to how we accelerate the program of a battery electric vehicle for road transportation. So I would like to highlight this decree is about battery electric vehicle, not other electric vehicle. So based on this presidential decree in Article 22, the first stage, the development of EV infrastructure must be built by PLN. It's the state-owned company focusing of electricity supply around Indonesia. If we talk about the EV infrastructure, actually it consists of at least two things. The number one is electric vehicle charging station, and the second one is about the battery swap facility. Indeed, to develop this infrastructure, PLN cannot do by ourselves. We cannot do alone. So based on the Article 23, PLN can do collaboration, can cooperate with whoever who would like to join in developing the EV infrastructure in Indonesia. So we are very welcome to everyone. Please, if you have highly interested in this EV infrastructure, you can contact me. You can join with us with PLN to build this EV infrastructure in Indonesia. And what first thing to do to accelerate the EV adoption in Indonesia? First thing we do is to ensure that the electric supply is sufficient for all EV will arrive in Indonesia. If we look at the data here, so this the update data of supply demand of electricity around Indonesia, we will have some information that right now, actually in Indonesia, we are already at over capacity. The totally our existing power capacity is about 63 gigawatt, and our reserve margin right now is about 22 gigawatt. It means if we will have EV at the road in Indonesia, maybe tomorrow there is a 1 million EV come. So we already estimate how many electricity needed for this. So for 1 million EV, actually the demand of electricity is about 2.5 until 3 gigawatt. So our reserve margin about 20 gigawatt. I can say don't worry about the electricity supply, because we have more than enough for that. So we also estimate that how many EV charging stations needed for the EV adoption in Indonesia in the next years. For example, we can look here the chart. We already estimate how many EV charging we want to build in the this year and next year, and until the next 10 years. For the next 10 years, we would like to build about 3,400 EV charger stations around Indonesia. This based on our own estimated estimation about how many EV will come to Indonesia. So not all EV charger station will be built by PLN. We open for the collaboration. For example, last year or maybe next year, we will build about 168 EV charging station. PLN only build 68 EV charging station. The remaining will be open for everyone who would like to join the business in Indonesia. So 40% of EV charging station we plan based on the roadmap will be built by PLN, and the remaining 60% will be offering to other party. that instead of the EV charging station, we call it SPKLU, we already plan to start build the battery swap, as already mentioned with, by Bu Neneng in the previous presentation. The problem is right now we still very intensively discuss about the standard of battery, because this is a very important thing for utilization of the battery swap. Without the one single standard of battery for the EV, especially for two-wheeler, the battery swap most likely is not too effective. So what thing we have done, actually we already published the standard for the EV charger station 2 years before the presidential decree signed in the 2017 actually. The standard indeed should follow the international standard. We already defined 3 types of the charging station. We call it level 1, level 2, and level 3. So level 3 is fast charging, level 2 is normal charging, and the level 1 is slow charging. The standard we use mostly refer to the IEC international standard. And we already start to build showcases of EV charging station. So far, maybe still small quantity, but this year we want to build at least 168 more of EV charging station around Indonesia. Right now, we only have about 24 EV charging station, mainly located in the main cities such as Jakarta, Tangerang, Bandung, Semarang, Denpasar, and also already at some intercity highway. And this also the most important thing. We should develop platform, because if we compare what the difference between ICE and EV, one of the difference is this platform. If electric vehicle should utilize this digital platform, because EV owner should know where is the close EV charger station with them, while during on the road, and also not only know the exact location real time, but also should know the EV charging station is still on charging by other electric vehicle or not, because they should know they should know the what time they should waiting for doing the charging at the EV charging station, because we know that EV charging station, even though right now there is a ultra fast charging, but for doing charging still takes a little bit time, maybe 5 or 10 minutes or maybe 15 minutes. And also we need this platform. We already developed this platform. We call it Charge In, developed by our subsidiary company, Icon Plus. And this platform has been launched last year. And this platform not only connected EV to the EV charging station, not only inform the location and status of EV charging station real time, but also already connect to the some financial provider from the conservative payment system like credit card to the fintech, the modern payment system. Sorry. And actually, instead of the EV charging station, PLN has installed more than 7,100 charge unit, but it's only for the light vehicle, two-wheeler, in some around around the country. The point already exists at more than 3,300 point or location around Indonesia. It means for the EV two-wheeler, I think is already sufficient for doing charger. everywhere in Indonesia. And what the special program for PLN to develop to accelerate the EV adoption in Indonesia? Of course, we have several programs here. We do the joint marketing with EV provider. So when someone want to purchase EV at the time, PLN also already give some information about the supply of electricity, how do they charge the EV at their own home like that. And of course, first thing we do, I already mentioned, to ensure the electricity supply is sufficient for powering electric vehicle in Indonesia. And also we already developed a platform e-mobility, we call it Charge In. And also we open for the collaboration win-win EV charger business model scheme. And the regulation has been launched August last year by Energy Minister. And also we give discount if EV owner do the charging at their own home at the between 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. we can give discount up to 30% for the electricity tariff. And also if someone who have the new EV want to upgrade the electricity capacity at the home, so we can give the upgrading free of charge. That's the sum of several EV program of PLN. Of course, but already mentioned by Bu Neneng also, the EV actually is the new emerging business. So the key is we should develop it together. We need EV ecosystem. So at the position, I think PLN as the utility company who providing electricity supply take important role at the center of connecting for all stakeholders around the EV ecosystem in Indonesia. So this our EV ecosystem development strategy, and we already start actually October 2019. We have we start the collaboration with several related stakeholders around the EV system, electric vehicle system, include Grab at the moment, because the key of success for implementing EV adoption, I think, is also the collaboration, the ecosystem collaboration. And also, we already know well, that the most challenging issue with the EV adoption in some countries is about the price. The price, the CapEx of the EV right now is still relatively high. So why we as a state-owned company join together with other state-owned company, and last week maybe if I don't forget, the Minister of State-owned Company already launched IBC, the Indonesia Battery Corporation. This corporation consists of 4 state-owned companies. Main ID, Antam, that focusing on the mining, providing the raw material for the EV battery industry, and also Pertamina, the energy, oil and gas energy company, and also PLN. This just starting, just starting. The IBC has been launched, and we now intensively discuss with 2 global partner potential to develop the EV industry from end to end, from upstream to downstream. At least there is there is 7 joint venture company among the EV battery industry for mining, shelter, nickel sulfate, precursor, anode, cell and battery pack, and battery and storage system, and include the battery recycle. So at least 7 joint venture will be established for this the industry. This the value chain of industry. Of course, the industry is needs huge money. We estimate that at least we need 13 until 17 billion US dollars for developing this industry. But we believe that if we can produce battery in Indonesia domestically, we can significantly reduce the EV price in Indonesia. So we would like to create not only infrastructure, but we only try to create the market of EV in Indonesia. That's the target. And this actually, sorry, somewhat still in bahasa, but I will explain it soon. That's the role of each state-owned company. Main ID Antam actually is mining company, state-owned company, mining company in Indonesia, and the nickel reserve in Indonesia, I think, is the number one, the largest one in Indonesia. So we would like to utilize the huge reserve of nickel for the EV industry battery, because nickel is one of the main raw material for EV battery. And also Pertamina, also we would like they would like to involving the new business for EV charging station, and also they're delivering a new product for the battery energy storage for the customer, and so on. And also PLN, actually we our main function is providing the electricity to all industry, but we also would like to involve to the EV battery industry, especially for developing a battery energy storage system, both for our own usage, internal application, and also for the external application. So the vision of IBC actually three target. We would like to be a global player providing the raw material of EV battery, and also we would like to be a global player to providing the middle material, like cathode of battery, and also we would like to be a domestic regional player for providing the EV battery, not only EV battery itself, but also like the EV battery energy storage for not only for the EV, but also for the power electricity industry around the region. So what the impact of the battery industry? Actually, we already done with the study, and we estimate that the impact of the industry is very huge. The GDP of the EV industry will achieve 26 billion US dollar in the next 10 years, based on the three mainstream of the business model of the EV industry. And this is the timeline of EV battery industry in Indonesia. This year, we already established the company IBC, and we continue to build the EV charging station and start to build the swap battery in Indonesia. So we predict that the factory of Expal for the precursor will be built in 2024, and the EV battery itself manufacturing will be operated in 2025. I think that's all of my presentation. Thanks for your attention. Back to Najla.
Thank you, Mr. Zainal Arifin. We already see that the PLN already prepare, and also have the target in 2026 to achieve 100% electric vehicles adoption. That is why we need to collaborate more and learn more also after this in this section from Canada. We will hear the presentation from Mrs. Mara Bullock as ITS Canada Board of Director that will be explaining about Canadian experience in using zero emission vehicle. Mrs. Mara Bullock, the time is yours.
Thank you. And thank you to ITS Indonesia and ITS Canada and the Canadian government for this opportunity to share with you some of the lessons learned from Canada when it comes to planning and implementation of zero emission vehicles. Next slide, please. My plan today is to go through, provide a little bit of an introduction, share with you some of the Canadian context, talk a little bit about the planning process and tools that have been developed to support planning for zero emission vehicles. And then I wanted to share a little bit about the Canadian ecosystem and wrap up. Next slide, please. Next slide. So ITS Canada is an organization. Janneke van der Zee is our managing director. And then our board of directors is comprised of volunteers from all different ITS groups within Canada. We have federal representation, provincial, municipal, and city representation on the public sector side. We're represented on the private sector by consultants, manufacturers, suppliers. And the role of ITS Canada is really to support mobility technologies by championing their benefits, fostering and promoting innovation, integrating the expertise, the products and services of our members, and enabling communication for learning and collaboration. Next slide, please. Last year in 2020, we launched our new ITS strategic plan, and that strategic plan defined ITS Canada as the hub for mobility technologies. As part of that, mobility technologies, connected and automated vehicles are a key component, and those will be electric. And so therefore, incorporation of electric vehicles is part of the hub that ITS Canada offers. I am part of the ITS Canada Board of Directors. As mentioned before, I'm part of the executive committee. And so I'm really happy to be able to join you here today. Next slide, please. In terms of my day job, I am part of WSP Canada. We're a global, WSP is a global engineering firm. We're over 55,000 people around the world, and we provide a number of services in the zero emission vehicle space. From providing power advisory information, looking at development of microgrids. We support infrastructure solutions, redesigns of transit facilities as an example, to support battery electric vehicles or hydrogen or CNG, compressed natural gas. We also help develop vehicle specifications, look at strategy development, which could include planning, procurement, change management. And we've also developed a couple tools to support with operations modeling, which I will touch on in a minute. Next slide, please. We have supported clients around the world in looking at transit electrification, and this just provides a bit of a snapshot of some of the clients that we've served. Next slide, please. So I'm going to share with you just a little bit about the Canadian context so that you can understand where we're coming from a resource perspective, and also some of the initiatives in place by the federal government. Next slide, please. Within Canada, across the board, we are currently 82% of our electricity comes from non-emitting sources. This varies depending on where you are in Canada. Our resource-rich provinces out west, Alberta, as an example, is a lot heavier in terms of oil and gas production as well as coal. Our far north in Nunavut is 100% generation from gas and oil. And then other provinces such as Quebec has a huge hydroelectric generation, and Ontario is very green as well, which is the province that I'm from, with over 93% of our energy coming from non-emitting sources. The federal government's also committed that by 2030, coal-fired electric generation will be phased out. Next slide, please. In 2020, Environment and Climate Energy released this report, A Healthy Environment and a Healthy Economy. It included a number of different commitments and initiatives to really move Canada forward. Knowing that Canada's transportation sector accounts for about 25% of GHG emissions, the transportation area is a key area of focus. From a personal automotive sales perspective, there's targets that by 2030, 30% of sales will be EV, and that grows to 100% by 2040. In order to support that, the government is continuing to invest in a rebate program. $5,000 is available as a rebate through till March 2022. They've also invested in the automotive sector to ensure that within Canada, we have production of EVs. So there was money provided to Ford for retooling their assembly line, and also funding provided to Fiat Chrysler. In addition, the government's investing an additional $150 million on top of the $180 million that's already been invested to support the development of charging and refueling stations across Canada. There's a commitment to procure 5,000 electric public transit and school buses, and also a commitment to leverage the resource-rich natural resources that exist in Canada to ensure that we can support the development of the entire lithium-ion battery supply chain. Next slide, please. There's also support from Infrastructure Canada and the Canada Infrastructure Bank. There's big commitments in terms of budget. This slide here says 1.5 billion, but in March of this year, 2.75 billion was announced for funding over the next 5 years to support the deployment of those 5,000 electric buses, which is part of an overall 8-year, 14.9 billion public transit commitment. Next slide, please. So the context, I think, just illustrates that there's strong commitment from government. We are coming from a place of strength in terms of our natural resources, and so now it's we need to really think about what we're going to do from a planning process, and in order to implement this in a meaningful, smart way across Canada. Next slide, please. When we think about planning, think about readiness planning, we apply this framework for connected and automated vehicles as well. But it's really important to consider what needs to be done from an infrastructure readiness perspective, what needs to be done operationally. Our public sector organizations and private sector organizations set up to support operations in this area. What needs to be done from an institutional perspective, from planning perspectives, are there the right industry-wide tools and collaborations in place? What do we need for public levers? What are the incentives? What's the policy? What are the legislation changes that need to be put in place? And pilots are a very effective way at supporting knowledge sharing and knowledge gathering by testing some of these things. So we see quite a lot of application of pilot projects in this space in Canada. Next slide, please. When we think of the planning process from an engineering perspective and some of the challenges that need to be solved, we recognize that there are high upfront costs, whether that's for purchase of the vehicles, whether it's the charging infrastructure, or the updates to the grid. There's a lot of cost that's associated with those. The procurement, there's challenges in that space as well. Technology is changing rapidly. Batteries are consistently evolving. How can you ensure that procurement specifications and standards are open and are going to meet the needs of today as well as the future? I talked a little bit before about operational changes, but we know that there's a lot of work that needs to be done. If we consider, for example, our transit fleet, you need to look at new training opportunities for mechanics, for the operations staff in terms of what needs to be done from a refueling perspective. So there's a lot of training and education that's required. From an electrical grid perspective, I've seen numbers that have said that by 2050, it's expected that the Canadian grid is the supply needs to be 2 to 3 times what it is today. So there's going to be a lot of work, a lot of planning that's necessary to make sure that we have the necessary supply to meet the demand. And of course, through all of this, we need to ensure that there's resiliency in the systems that are delivered. Next slide, please. I just have a slide in sort of each of the 3 areas where EVs might be considered. If we take a look at the adoption of personal EVs, some of the challenges that have been identified, we've touched on before, the high upfront costs. The government has provided different subsidies, both provincially and federally, with regards to vehicle subsidies, but also personal charging infrastructure subsidies. And again, that's varied by provinces. Range anxiety is a challenge, and expanding the charging infrastructure, both free charging infrastructure and pay-per-use, will support that. Canada is really looking to ensure that we have zero-emission vehicles that are built here in Canada. And so there's been funding on that. And consumer awareness is a big piece as well. We actually purchased a Nissan Leaf EV in 2019, and this plug and drive site was a really interesting place where you could go and see all of the EVs in one place. And so it just saved a lot of shopping around to each of the different manufacturers. In addition, we're also seeing shifts in leisure and sport vehicles to EV, whether that's snowmobiles or jet skis or boats, as a couple examples. Next slide, please. A lot of the work that that's being done is also taking a look at our public sector fleet, and those planning steps are outlined here. One of the important things is to really understand what the current state is and what the growth plan are for those particular agencies. We're definitely seeing in work that we do that it's not a one-to-one replacement of one electric bus for one diesel bus. It's more in the 1 to 1.3. And so understanding what the growth plans are is critically important. We need to understand and to undertake fleet operations modeling, and WSP developed a tool as a result of the importance of this step, which I'll touch on later. It's really important for us across Canada to understand and assess what the infrastructure gaps are, and to undertake conceptual design work in order to close those gaps and to determine what needs to be done. Understanding all of those first 3 steps is really important to undertaking a financial analysis to understand the total cost of ownership. And then people develop a staged implementation plan. We know this isn't going to turn over right away. We know that transit agencies, especially with COVID, are strapped for cash. And so it's a matter of taking a look at how we can move to a fully electric future one step at a time. As I'd mentioned before, there's often a lot of pilots that are undertaken so people can get experience, and then that will move forward into implementation monitoring and full rollout. Next slide, please. I just grabbed a couple of images of announcements in our private sector fleet adoption as well. There are lots of companies looking to transition their fleets to fully electric as well. Next slide, please. So I wanted to share just a couple of tools around tools and suppliers from a Canadian ecosystem perspective. I'd mentioned Bolt before. This is the fleet operations modeling tool that WSP had developed because we noticed that there was a gap in the market. So Bolt works by taking a look at the existing fixed routes that transit agencies are operating, taking a look at the battery model, the bus types that may be running on those routes, understanding the ridership numbers that relates to weight in the vehicle, understanding the topography that the vehicle is going to travel over, what are the weather conditions. All of those things impact the battery usage, and you know, the HVAC load is a key component to that as well. We're actually finding in Canada that generally we're using diesel heaters because the load for heating the buses is too large on the battery. So Bolt takes all of these considerations into effect or into account, and then shows which of the existing blocks can actually be converted to electric vehicle. And as I said, we're really seeing that there needs to be shifts in how transit agencies operate in order to fully embrace electric vehicles. Bolt also provides details on the peak demand and inter-peak demand, so that designs for the necessary power supply can be done accurately. We've also developed tools to support the business case analysis, looking at whole of life, whether that's a 30-year outlook, taking into account all of the different costs, both OPEX and CAPEX. Within Canada, we have a number of EV suppliers. On a transit bus perspective, New Flyer Industries and Nova Bus are two manufacturers. It's interesting to note that New Flyer is also, their Excelsior bus is also being automated right now. So it'll be a connected electric and automated bus that can carry, that seats 40. Microbird and Lion Electric are two examples of battery electric school buses. Oh, I'm sorry. Could you please advance 2 slides? I forgot to mention that. 2 more. I'm on the slide that says Canadian industry ZEV supply. 1 more. Thank you. I'm sorry about that. So Microbird and Lion Electric are 2 Canadian suppliers in the school bus side of things, and Fiat Chrysler is producing the Pacifica in Windsor, Ontario, and Ford Motor Company is going to be producing some electric vehicle lines as well. They're just going through a retooling process at this point in time. Next slide, please. Cargo Company and Canadian Electric Vehicles are other suppliers of electric vehicles in Canada. They are providing vehicles for airports, ports, mining, and manufacturing. Next slide, please. When we take a look at the big picture and, you know, just taking a look at the transit fleet for a moment, you know, the number of electric vehicles that are currently in trial in Canada are between 100 and 150. Clearly, there's a lot of work to do to fully replace the entire fleet. We know that there's likely to be supply constraints. We're generally served by 4 different electric bus suppliers in Canada. And as a result of this, a number of companies, MTB is one of them, is really taking a look at how they can fill that gap and help to transition diesel buses to electric buses. So this is serves a number of purposes. One in terms of accelerating transition, and the other is filling the gap in terms of supply. Next slide, please. So MTB, for example, is working with a number of Canadian companies, really taking a look at what can be done from a repowering perspective. So when a diesel bus comes in at 5 years, they can remove all of the diesel components, install fully electric components within 6 months, and then get an electric bus back on the road. Next slide, please. And one more, please. So I wanted to just leave with a couple thoughts. Clearly, moving to an electric vehicle future is a complex challenge, and it requires support from a number of different areas, from a policy perspective, from standards development, funding, engineering. The utility companies need to be on board, as well as manufacturers. And as the previous 2 speakers have also clearly articulated, it's really important that that we work in partnership to solve these challenges and to deliver these solutions. Leveraging best practices and lessons learned from around the world is really important. From a Canadian perspective, and how we can support Indonesia, the Trade Commissioner Service can support Indonesia by connecting the Canadian industry with Indonesian companies to support planning and delivery. Our Canadian Commercial Corporation may also be able to provide assistance to Canadian companies that are looking to provide services to Indonesia. And Export Development Canada, or EDC, also offers an extensive range of financial services for Canadian businesses as they're pursuing international trade and investment opportunities. So I think there's some really great opportunities there that can be pursued. And last but not least, I would encourage you to participate in ITS Canada's Connected Electric and Automated Shuttle Committee. You can learn from our different agencies that are deploying shuttles, and learn a little bit more about the policy and pilots, demonstrations, and other issues. So thank you very much for the time. Please don't hesitate to connect with me for more information, or with Yonica. Thank you, and over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Mara. Yes, everyone, attendees can put all the questions in the questions box for Mrs. Mara. And thank you, Mrs. Mara, for the big picture of Canadian ecosystem in electric vehicles. Now we are moving on, and I will invite Mr. Kuku Kumara as General Secretary of GAIKINDO to explain the industry perspective in electric-based vehicles production. The time is yours, Mr. Kuku.
Okay, thank you, Najla. I would like to wait for the presentation. So basically, I would like to talk about the industry itself in general first, and then moving forward toward the electric vehicle and how it was, or how the development of the electric vehicle in Indonesia. Next, please. Okay, this is the layout, and let's move to the presentation. Basically, I would like to explain about the automotive industry, the current industry that up and down and is affected by the pandemic, and we would like to recover. At this moment, GAIKINDO have about 44 members consisting of sole agent, manufacturing, distribution, and main component producers. Total production capacity right now in Indonesia is about 2.4 million unit vehicles, four-wheelers and above per year. However, due to the pandemic, utilization is down to the level very low, 29%, because last year we only produced about 700,000 units which is usually we produce more than 1 million unit. And there are about 1.5 million people working in this sector, directly and indirectly. And automotive industry in Indonesia is moving rank in 8th rank among other commodity, non-gas export commodity. And in 2020, we export completely built unit about 230. It's down from the previous year. In 2019, we export more than 300,000 units. So automotive industry in Indonesia is one of the economic locomotive, with contribute to the GDP around almost 4%. Next, please. This is the up and down of the automotive industry. If we can look back in the 70s, very low, but then we are moving forward, and in 2000, we are start producing more and more vehicles and more local component. And starting 2013, I think we introduced, the Indonesian government introduced what we call LCGC, low-cost green car, and we are maintaining the production above 1 million. However, last year, we have the pandemic, COVID-19, and the production as well as the sales and also export are dropped. Next, please. This is just showing the graph, what is being produced, what is being marketed domestically, and what is being exported. And hopefully that after recovering, hopefully we can soon recover, and then we moving forward with the regular production. But again, the utilization of production capacity is relatively low, and we want to really improving on that one, so that the automotive industry can also contribute to the recovery of the Indonesian economy. Next, please. Look at the details of the vehicles being marketed or sales and produced in Indonesia. You can see the maroon bar is reflecting the type of the vehicle. What we call is the MPV, multi-purpose vehicles, mostly are 7-seaters. This is quite popular for quite some times, since I think mid-70, because when Indonesia produced the vehicles, Indonesia developed the vehicle based on the commercial vehicle, converted into passenger vehicles. And why is so popular? Because the policy is reducing the tax for this type of vehicle, the MPV. The PPNBM is about 10%, while sedan is considered a luxury car. That's why they have luxury tax higher than the MPV. But again, the market in Indonesia of the vehicles, so four-wheelers and more, are dominated by the MPV, which is about 51%. And as I mentioned earlier, that in 2013, the government introduced what they call LCGC program. That's also taking a market share about 21%. It's quite popular. Why is a low-cost green car? The fuel efficiency is quite remarkable, and also the emission are relatively low. Next, please. This is also important chart, I think, to give you information about the vehicles ratio ownership in Indonesia. We know that we, from the previous discussion, that the vehicles is also causing traffic jam in so many parts of Indonesia, and mostly in the big city. Yes, sure, because when we start developing the vehicles in Indonesia since 70s, mostly the growth of the automotive industry is about between 5 to 10% annually. However, the increased length of the road in Indonesia is not in line with the growth of the vehicles for quite some times. But thanks to the government recently, in the last, I think, about 6 years, gradually they are trying to catch up the development of the infrastructure by developing a lot of road, toll road, port, and so many things. As you can see right now, in Java, you can travel using the toll route from the West Java down to the East Java easily right now. And that will be also beneficial for the industry, automotive industry, of course, but at the same time, it's also create a new economic zone in different area. So back to the ratio, Indonesia with 270 million population, the ratio of car ownership is about 99 car per 1,000 population. If you look at the Malaysia with 27 million population, the car ownership or the ratio is above 400, about 460 car per 1,000. And we look at the Thailand with the 70 million population, the ratio is about 275 car per 1,000 population. So there is room for improvement in Indonesia, but it doesn't mean that we have jamming all this area, because now that the road is being developed and so on, it will be well distributed. In 15 years ago, most of the about 80% of the vehicles are sold in Java Island, but now it's decreased only about 60% and maybe even lower in the coming year. It's more distributed to other islands like Sumatra, Sulawesi, Kalimantan, and others. So that's another indicators that the distribution is also indicating also the economic growth. Next, please. Next. So this is a trend, the past, current, and the futures. Almost countries are developing vehicles, as we just see a presentation from Mara regarding zero emission vehicles. Yes, we are also willing to moving toward that direction. As you can see, zero emission vehicle or ZEV. However, it takes stages to move that one. We are in 1975. We have emission, maybe it's not. It's so slightly different, but now Indonesia is already imposing what the standard emission equal to Euro 4 for the gasoline starting 2017. But then in 2022, also the diesel is going to be comply with the Euro 4, which is a reduction of the emission as well. And then we are moving forward. And now, of course, we try to reduce more emission, try lowering the carbon emission from the vehicles. Let's move. This is a clear indication indicating about the progress from the CPU, and then we completely build up. We importing vehicles in 70s and then slightly localizing the component and so on. Now we have the industry and we have the capacity about 2.4 million vehicles per year. But also now we are moving to the vehicles with lower carbon emission. So this is in line with the global trend. However, we have a different challenge compared with the other countries, but we are trying to be part of the global movement. Next, please. This is, as I mentioned earlier, the challenge and the strategic focus for the automotive industry. Yes, we would like to moving toward zero emission, and one of them is, as we would like to discuss during this webinar, is what about the development of the electric vehicles? We currently have the installed capacity about 2.4 million unit car per year, and then last year utilization is down only 29%, and the idle capacity is quite large. So we have to wake up and then come back utilizing the industry. Recently, the Ministry of Industry also visiting Japan, just try to ensure that they are committed to proceed with the development. And one of them is just try to, what about utilizing this plan? Not only just for the ICE, but you can see that our member is also trying to develop the hybrid vehicles. We try to introduce also plug-in hybrid vehicles. But again, the market is not developed yet, but people start picking up, understanding the importance of the electric vehicles. But again, as previous presenters also mentioned, that one of the gap or one of the challenge is the price of the electric vehicles is relatively high. Next, please. This is a trend. As Ibu Neneng also mentioned that, but the intelligent transportation and also others that we have to develop platform. Yes, that's correct. Environmentally friendly vehicles as a driving technology. We are moving toward that one. Currently, we working on that one, but not only the automotive industry, because we cannot making the lower emission by ourselves, because even the vehicles technology is already high enough, but if the fuel are not comply with the requirement, we cannot make that one. That's why we are also working with the others stakeholders on this matter. And then now we are talking about technology, autonomous vehicles, yes, but maybe for Indonesia it will take some time because we are now still in the early stages. And then about connectivity and so on. Yes, it will come to the point sooner or later. Next, please. This is an illustration, the development for the future transportation mode. I would like also to emphasize that the approach that has been done, like Grab, Ibu Neneng mentioned that they developed in Bali. This is it's a kind of a pilot project because it's more in a relatively small area compared to implementation for the whole country. But by doing so, we should be able to learn in more control area, and then what is the problem, what can be improved, and so on, from the vehicle itself, from the infrastructure, and also from the customer itself, what their expectation. Because slightly different now with the electric vehicle already being developed in most developed countries, for instance, in Europe or in Canada. They have 4 seasons, they have a very cold season. While in Indonesia, we have only dry and rainy season. Humidity is relatively high, and also temperature is relatively high. The battery, it may perform differently as the battery being developed in a different country. But again, the new development is very interesting, as Pak Zaki mentioned earlier that the Ministry of BUMN already developed the Indonesia Battery Consortium. It's good because this is the right approach. Once we are develop our own battery and being able to be used for vehicles, then regardless, whatever the brand, the battery should be from Indonesia. So similar like a teh bottle, whatever you eat, minumnya teh botol. That's the same with the vehicles. Whatever the brand of the vehicles, as long as the electric vehicle, you can have a battery from Indonesia because we have the material and so on, and we are able to develop it. Next one, please. Now, Indonesia also commit to the Paris Agreement, try to reduce the emission from the vehicles. So this is the commitment by 2030. So what can be done with the Paris Agreement? That's why we adopt Euro 4, and then maybe we move to Euro 5 or Euro 6. That's the progress we would like to see when we want to reduce the emission. And one of them is, of course, the introduction of electric vehicles. Next, please. This is one of the policy being issued by the government. Try to move from the current policy on which the vehicle tax are defined by the shape and the size of the engine, which is still in place right now. So if you have 7-seater and only two boxes, the tax is different. So the higher the volume of the engine, the higher also the tax. But realizing that we have to reduce the emission, the government already introduced what they call the PP73 in 2019. And based on that one, based on the PP73, if we, which will be implemented this year in October, so the lower the emission, the lower also the tax. The higher the fuel efficiency, the better. So that's the move toward saving the fossil fuel, reducing the use of fossil fuel, but at the same time also reducing the emission. There are 3 points that the government want to know, make sure it happen when introduced PP73 is number 1. When this policy are introduced, make sure that the emission will be reduced. Yes, we do the study and it will be reduced. Number 2 is by introducing this policy, the government revenue remain the same or even better, revenue from vehicle tax. And number 3 is also important that the industry itself is not contracted. It means that by introducing this policy, the automotive industry in Indonesia can be made continuously growing, because it's important. You can see that the ratio of ownership is relatively low, and we have the potential to be used for the production phase to export to other countries. Next, please. This is the Ministry of Industry have what they call the LCEV program. LCEV abbreviation of low carbon emission vehicles. So this is the program. We have to make the vehicles that the carbon emission is relatively low. So as I mentioned earlier also that the LCGC has been introduced and it's quite successful because the carbon emission is relatively low, but the price itself has been set, should be not exceeding around 150 million. So this is quite popular. That's why they can get the market share about 21%. And then we try to move before maybe the optimum goal is to have a battery electric vehicle, which the policy also has been issued through the presidential decree number 55 2019. So we should be able to start with HEV, which is the hybrid electric vehicles. At this moment, again, the price itself is relatively high. It's not yet being demanded by most of consumer. But there is another alternative. After having the hybrid electric vehicle, we have another option, which is a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. This is a combination, the battery and the internal combustion engine. While in HEV, the charging is basically coming from their engine itself, but in PHEV, you can plug in charging when the vehicles is in park or at home. And then, of course, there is a BEV, battery electric vehicles, and also, which is not yet being quite popular, with this what we call fuel cell electric vehicle. This is hydrogen. But the infrastructure, what I heard, is relatively expensive because the pressure needed for the hydrogen is relatively high. And of course, we have what they call local endowment, the biofuel, the flexi engine. This is the technology is available in Indonesia. We have palm oil that we can use for biodiesel. And Indonesia is leading on that one because since early last year, we already introduced, mandated the use of B30, which is 30% of the fuel is mixed, 30% is palm oil and 70% are from the solar or diesel fuel. So this has been used. But of course, Indonesia have other option if we want to reduce the use of fossil fuel. The other one is ethanol. It has been introduced maybe more than 15 years ago, but the progress is up and down. One of them is the issue with the raw material to make the ethanol, but we should be able to have that one. And interesting enough, if we have introduced this ethanol, or we call it E5, E10, or E15, we can utilize a different plant. It can be from sugarcane, it can be from corn, so different area. For instance, East Java, they are quite strong with sugarcane. They can develop the ethanol using sugarcane. So if we introduce this one across the country using the local wisdom, local plan, it will help because there is no logistic cost. The fuel being produced in East Java will be used in East Java. And for instance, in Lampung, they have a lot of corn or other things. They can also develop ethanol based on corn. No transportation, no logistic. It can be mixed there. And yes, okay, let's move. Next one.
Yeah, due to the limited time.
Okay, no problem. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Next one.
Yeah.
So this is a progress, and different vehicles with different type of powertrain, it can be developed. Next one. Next, just skip this one. It's lesson learned from this is just a comparison, electric vehicle developed in China, which is quite successful, but again, being subsidized by the government, about $15,000 per vehicles. And I think it's quite difficult for Indonesia. Next one. This is mostly the country develop electric vehicle, mainly from China, which already able to produce about 1 million electric vehicle per year, but being subsidized by the government. The other is from German, France, Japan, Korea, and United States. Next one. Next one, this is where we are talking about the regulation or policy. Next. We also talked about this one already. Next, please. This is just an example of the trial, but the swap battery for motorcycles by a number of companies and being tried in Bandung, I think in West Java. Next one. Oh, okay, this is just mentioned about the development of the battery from the mineral. Next one. This is one thing that maybe I would like to a little bit explain. Yes, the price of the electric vehicle is relatively high. The cheaper one is around more than $500 billion, about 500 to 600 million rupiah. While the ability of mostly Indonesian customer is vehicles with the price less than 300 million. So this is an issue of the adoption of the electric vehicles. Next one. Next, just process about the component. This is information that we have from Gaikindo about the number of vehicles. The top one is the internal combustion engine, and then the hybrid, and then plug-in hybrid, and then the battery electric vehicle. So we don't know yet the move, but this is very important if we want to produce the electric vehicle in Indonesia, because we cannot rely electric vehicle if we just import it in terms of CPU. We don't want to lose the industry, because this is a good area in industry that need to be maintained. Next one. So this is a summary. For the battery electric vehicles, we need a number of collaboration. The R&D application that is applicable to the industry, we need to have that one, because the main components such as the battery, inverter, and the electric motor need to be developed. As I mentioned, Indonesia have a unique requirement, the unique climate need to be addressed, that one. And then supporting component, very important. And I'm glad that finally we have the Indonesia Battery Consortium. So we should start from the component, because about 100 or 1,000 component is needed for the electric vehicle, while the rest we are able to make that one already. And then the integrators. who are able to integrate all these components into a vehicles, reliable, safe, and affordable vehicles for Indonesia. The policy, we already have that one, number of policy, maybe more is needed. But again, very important is also the economic skill of the electric vehicle itself. Maybe we can start with the public transportation such as buses and taxi. Grab already initiated that one. It's good. Again, the policy is there, and then number other things need to be done. But also it's important right now that Indonesia is already basically self-sufficient and producing the vehicles for domestic. So we have to maintain either that's ICE or that's electric vehicle or others. Yes, we can make it as long as we have all this global supply chain is developed in Indonesia.
Yes.
So with that, I would like to end my presentation. Thank you.
Thank
very
you,
much.
Pak. Yes, we will have another discussion for the next section. But
Sure.
For now, we like to invite all the panelists to have a photo session.
Okay.
Before, yeah, you can turn on the screen. And for the team, we will prepare for the photo session. Okay, everyone's ready?
Okay.
Okay.
Correct.
All right, it's
Okay,
done.
got it. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we will move to the discussion section. I already have some of questions for the panelists. And we will first for the question for Mrs. Naneng. Yeah, Mbak Neneng, the question is from Adi Setiawan. The question is, first, how much operational cost can be reduced using electric vehicles compared to fuel-based? And the second one is, why Bali? How about Jakarta, since it could be more polluted than Bali? You may answer, Mbak Neneng.
Okay, thanks, Najla. Thanks, Mas Adi Setiawan. It's a great question. The EV operation cost is actually only 20% of the operational cost of gasoline. So it's pretty cheap. You can save like 80%. However, the saving needs to compensate for the expensive cost of buying a motorbike. And the problem is not only that, the problem is, I think Pak Kuku mentioned as well that the after sales market has not been formed at this moment. And the battery swap mechanism, it's also still, the standardization is still not there yet. Okay, so that's the first question. Hope I can answer your question. The second one, why Bali? And how about Jakarta, since it could be more polluted than Bali? By the way, the pilot launch of four-wheel EV is actually started beginning of 2020 before pandemic, is in Jakarta. And the reason we choose Jakarta and Bali for the tourism area, we choose Bali because we, as you know, for launching and piloting EV, we need to work very closely with the local government. We need to work together with all the stakeholders. So Jakarta and Bali is our pilot. The motorcycle EV launch in Jakarta is gonna be soon as well. So it's not only Bali, it's also Jakarta. Hope this answer your question. But after this, we will also roll out to other cities we will work closely with the local government and the stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you, Mbak Neneng, for the answer. Hope it's already clear, yeah, for Adi Setiawan, because yeah, we are moving forward nowadays. So we open collaborations, especially for the local government itself, yeah, Bu Neneng. And for the next question is for PLN, Pak Zainal Arifin. It's from Universitas Indonesia student. The question is, one of the advantages of electric vehicles is their environmental friendliness. However, most of the electric generators in Indonesia still use fossil fuel as an energy source. Does PLN have plans to develop renewable energy closely related to the development of electric vehicles in Indonesia?
Okay.
Is it
Thanks.
already for the question?
Yes, this is a good question. Yeah. Right now, actually, the contribution of renewable energy to fuel mix of electricity in Indonesia is already 14%. So we have done several simulation, even though not all supply of electricity coming from the renewable energy resources. So we can still reduce CO2 emission significantly. So we did some simulation. So for each 10,000 mile each of ICE will produce about 4,000 kilogram per kilowatt hour. If we comparing to the electric vehicle based on the existing supply electricity in Indonesia, the CO2 emission can decrease to only 1,300 kilogram per kilowatt hour for 10,000 mileage. Of course, if we can supply all the energy from the renewable energy, will be zero. Why the CO2 emission will be decreased if we utilize EV? Because technically the efficiency energy of ICE is twice, EV is twice than ICE. So in Indonesia case, we already did some simulation that if we move forward, change the ICE to EV, can potentially reduce CO2 between 30 to 50% of CO2 emission, regardless the sources of electricity. And indeed, we right now ongoing to increase our penetration more coming from the renewable energy. In the next 5 years, the contribution of renewable energy, we hope to increase up to 23%. Today, still 14%. I hope that will answer your question. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mr. Zainal, for the answer. I hope it's already clear, and we're moving on to the next questions for Mrs. Marabulak. The question is from Muhammad Kamaluddin. Have you implemented rapid or fast charging infrastructure in public places for personal electric vehicles in Canada? What are the challenges in operating rapid or fast charging for public?
Thank you for the question. Yes, there is level 3 or rapid charging rolled out across Canada. We're seeing companies such as Flow, ChargePoint coming in and installing chargers, as well as Ivy, which is a partnership between Ontario Power Generation and Hydro One, which is one of the utilities. They're looking to roll out high-speed chargers across Ontario. In terms of challenges with sudden peaks in electricity demands, I can't speak to that directly. I do know that there have been some challenges from a maintenance perspective with the chargers being out of service. But they're definitely the way to go.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Mara, for the brief answer. And for the next questions is for Pak Kuku Kumara, for Gaikindo.
Okay.
The question is, when is the plan to implement use of electric cars in Indonesia? How to make people in Indonesia understanding about the benefits of IT so that the many people support it to be able to participate in creating like a healthy environment and easy transportation. Clear?
Okay, thank you. As I mentioned on the presentation that the buying capacity, the ability to buy a car for the Indonesian mostly are the vehicles that the price is below 250 or 300 million rupiah. That's number one. Number two is that mostly of the electric vehicles are very expensive. Number one is that it costs more than 600 million, at least at this moment. And then also the infrastructure is still being developed. For instance, if we have the vehicles in Jakarta, and mostly people are buying car not only for traveling from home to office, but maybe sometimes they have to go to Bandung, to Cirebon for recreation and so on. The concern if they go to Bandung and then in the middle of the road, they want to recharge. Where are the charging stations? So it takes time. I gave you an example when people move from the manual transmission to automatic transmission. It takes more than 10 years. So it's a process. So again, when the industry itself develop and then finally the battery itself is price is lower, the electric vehicles also affordable, then people might start thinking. And more important also that mostly of the customers are asking, what about the resale price? Because if 5 years they want to change the vehicles, is it still high enough? This is still a main concern of the consumer. And then what about the battery itself? The battery itself at this moment is relatively expensive, and 50 to 60% of the cost for the electric vehicle is from the battery. So hopefully with the IPC, then the price can be reduced and the performance of the battery itself can be improved. And a lot of manufacturing are willing to use Indonesian battery. That's another issue when we will start looking at more and more people familiarize and enjoy the electric vehicles. So it is a process. Maybe it's the answer, but I think it's not the only one because we have to, as I mentioned, also the LCEV, using the ethanol, using the biofuel as well as CNG. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pak Kuku, for the answer. And actually, we still have a lot of questions in question box, but we cannot answer one by one due to the limited time.
Yes.
For all, you can access today's presentation materials and you may register first as a member of ITS Indonesia on this website, its-indonesia.org. Yes, as seen on the screen. And as a member of ITS Indonesia, you will be given the access to our knowledge center where you can download presentation materials from webinars, papers, and report about intelligent transport system in Indonesia. And we also invite you to be a part of our remarkable journey to boost and develop the transportation system of Indonesia. Operators, companies, institutions, academics, researchers, students, and professionals are more than welcome to be ITS Indonesia members. Please visit ITS Indonesia website as you can see on the screen, and follow our Instagram account at itsindonesia.id to get updated. And I want to say thank you to all the speakers, the participants, and ITS Indonesia, especially for holding this webinar. We hope from these small steps, we can have a bigger impact for the ecosystem in electric vehicles and smart transportation in Indonesia. May this webinar beneficial for all of us to make the transportation system getting better. Thank you for your attention and see you at our next webinar all. Bye-bye.
Terima kasih Pak Willy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nasla.
Thank you, Pak.
Thank you, Pak Zainal.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mara.
Mara.
Thank
Pak
you.
Zainal. Thank
Good
you,
night.
Najla. Thank you,
Ya,
everybody.
thank you, Pak.
Ya,
Thank you.
sama-sama
Pak
Pak
Buko.
Zainal.
Bye.
Sama-sama. Lain waktu ketemu Pak ya.
Iya, Pak. Siap.
Ya,
Kita
ya Pak.
Terima kasih.
Sama-sama. Izin saya meninggalkan. Nasla, thank you.
Ya, Pak.
Thanks, Najla.
Thank you very much.
Mbak Zainal. Siap, Pak William. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih ya, Najla ya. Thank you. Very good.
Saya
Bye.
pernah liburan sama Bapak, Pak, dulu MRT.
Oh iya. Thank you, naik MRT lagi kalau gitu.
Terima kasih, Pak. Thank you.
Thank you.
Another time. Thank you, ITS Indonesia.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.